Okay, the Black Cultural Zone. What is that called again? Downtown
That's the Black Arts
Business District.
Business District.
The
Yeah.
Black Arts
Black
Business.
Arts Movement
The Black
Business
Arts
District.
Movement Business District.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they
Stands
had to
the
put in business district. It kind of messes up the flow there, but
Yeah. Can you explain it? Because I mean, it's still around, right? It's still like it's still
yeah,
down
and,
there.
and it's still waiting for city funding.
Oh, really? What year did that get approved?
2016.
Okay, so was that under Jing Quan or Libby
Uh,
Schaaf?
I think Libby was the mayor at that time.
Okay, okay. So I mean, so,
Yeah.
so can you, because I mean, the thing I like, you are a culture worker, but oftentimes
Hmm.
that culture actually spills into things like politics, spills
Sure.
into just like things into activism.
Sure.
So you've always kind of like been like kind of at the crux of cultural movement and political movement and activism. You've always kind of like sat at that crux. Can you kind of explain how you've been able to navigate those worlds?
Well, I don't think it was, I mean, at least at first, it wasn't like intentional. It was just sort of like this is what was happening. I mean, I had some experiences with corporate America that weren't really all that great, as one might imagine, and that sort of like leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth. And you, and you say, well, I want to do something that's more grassroots. It's kind of like more for the community, not knowing at the time that politics invades every single area of the world, and you can't ever escape politics, but you think you're doing something for the right reason.
Right.
So, I mean, I think the Bay Area is also the Bay Area hip hop is also, it's very grassroots, meaning community centric. And it's always had a lot of political activism because basically the legacy of the Black Panthers, the free
hmm
speech movement, all the, things that went on here in the 60s and 70s. That was like my parents, that was like Boots's parents, that was like Money B's parents, that was like Latif the Truth Speaker's parents,
Yeah.
you know um and even if your parents weren't directly involved in like some sort of like liberation movement that was in the community. I mean, you might have gone to defremery and gotten you know a sickle cell checkup or a free breakfast down at the community learning center, in like 1975,
Right.
or taking a martial arts class or something like that. So that's always been part of like the Bay Area aesthetic. We've always had sort of like this political and cultural awareness that were fused together. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was one of the main aesthetics of the Black Arts movement,
Hmm.
which I believe it started in 1965. And it started in New York, but it came out here almost immediately.
Right.
And so some people have described it as the cultural arm of the Black Panther movement, which isn't entirely correct, but it's like close enough.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I always kind of had that like mentality behind me, and I don't know like exactly how it all came about, but I was asked to be on a working group that Lynette McElhaney, who was then the council member for District 3 in West Oakland downtown, was putting together. And that ended up being the Black Culture Keepers group. And we met a few times in 2015 with the idea of creating a Black Arts District. And Lynette wanted to just celebrate Black business downtown, and basically, give a shout out to Jeffrey Pete and Joyce Gordon,
Hmm.
who, had basically maintained this one block in Oakland and, like leased it to other Black businesses. I think Jeffrey owns like that whole building, and then he leased it to Joyce, and then there were a couple other Black businesses there. And but Marvin X, who's the co-founder of the Black Arts Movement, and Paul Cobb, who's the publisher of the Oakland Post, had for years tried to get a some sort of recognition of the Black Arts Movement. So those two ideas kind of merged. and that's how it became the Black Arts Movement Business District. And so the city came out with a resolution officially proclaiming it. I think it was in early 2016. I want to say January. Um, and we all took a photo that ended up being on the cover of the Post. And then we waited for the next steps, which were okay. In the proclamation, it says, the city's going to look for funds from all its departments to sort of like build up this, recognize the cultural contributions of African Americans and also make up for historical inequity. And we waited and waited and waited and waited. And Lynette never asked for a dime of funding.
Oh,
She never asked.
No. Apparently, she got into it with Marvin X over banners. Like she had been dragging her feet, and Marvin X was like, "Where are the banners? We need banners, Lynette." And I don't know how Marvin came at Lynette, but she was shook.
Mm.
Like the proverbial, uh, you know, uh, victim of Mob Deep, and she just walked away from this whole district that she was actually the acting council person from.
oh, Jesus.
Like never made a single request for any type of city funding. Kind of made a half-assed attempt to get cultural district certification from the California Arts Council. But when they gave her feedback like, no, we need cultural districts to be bottom up, not top down. I mean, they sent her very detailed feedback like, you can't micromanage a cultural district as an elected official. It's
Wow.
ethically and morally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Of course,
So
it's always personal too.
Yeah, so it's been dead in motion this whole time, essentially. Like
Well,
you got the proclamation, but there's no support for it.
I mean, there hasn't been any city support. I think Carol Fife may have tried to do some things.
Yeah.
But then we get into like the pandemic and then the budget deficit. And yeah, Carol Fife is the current council person for District 3. And and now all of a sudden the city has no money and actually has to cut its entire cultural affairs department. But to tell you the truth, D, I don't even feel that bad about it after learning that San Francisco just cut 30 million for the arts.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they did.
So I can't even feel too bad about Oakland losing 1.2 million from its cultural affairs district because we had low expectations from the city.
Yeah.
But if you're like the African American Theater Company or African American Shakespeare Company and you're celebrating your 30th anniversary and you're expecting that 300K from the city that was already granted, and now all of a sudden you get an email saying it's rescinded.
Oof.
Well, I'm
That's
actually,
like
I'm actually
that's like
thinking about.
being
Yeah, go ahead.
that's like being returned to slavery.
Well, it's so crazy because you got me thinking about my former employer, Center for African American Art and Culture, over there on Fulton. Like London Breed was very much involved with that program. She's my former boss from there. She was the executive director when I was a teacher tutor over there.
Yeah.
They're going to suffer. They're going to suffer. I didn't know about that. That's bad. That's bad.
I just read that today. I mean, I was like, what? They're cutting 30 million? And it looks like it's over some bullshit too. Like there are some questions about transparency and accountability, but that is an internal issue with the staff. That has nothing to do with the arts organizations that are applying for these grants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another way that I feel like it's these tech bros going in on DEI.